thing that needs to happen when you're buying a business? Well, in today's video, I'm gonna take you behind the scenes and show you the actual checklist that I use when helping buyers buy a business. And the number one thing you should be worried about when going through this process as a buyer. Let's get to it. Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. I am your host, Leo Landaverde, business broker and commercial lender, helping you buy and scale a profitable business. If you are a small business owner looking to increase your wealth by purchasing a profitable business rather than starting another one, or if you are a W-2 employee looking to get out of the rat race by purchasing a profitable business, then you are in the right place. Please subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to hit the bell and you'll be notified every Thursday when a new video comes out. All things considered, this checklist has over 16 categories. We don't have the time to go through every one of them. Otherwise, it would be a 1 hour long video, and I don't think you have the time for that. So what I'll try to do is I'm gonna try to condense and zero in the areas that I think are of the most important. That doesn't mean that the rest are not as important, but the ones that you should probably pay attention to first. And then what I'll do is I'll give you access to this checklist that has probably over 100 bullet points, the things that you need to be considering as you are actually going the process of buying a business. Now, I am assuming in this process that you're actually not going through a broker and that you're going to do this by yourself, which you totally can. It's not easy, but you can. So with that said, let's jump into it. Number one category is organizational documents. Number two is financial information. Number three is physical assets. Number four is real estate. 5 is intellectual property. 6, employee and employee benefit related. 7, license and permits. 8, environmental issues. 9, taxation. 10, material contracts. 11, product and service lines. 12, general information, customer information. 13 is litigation, and the list goes on. So let's go back to the ones that I think are of critical importance. Organizational documents in section number 1. The very first thing you want to do is when you're buying a business, you want to identify the type of legal entity that you're buying those assets from. Whether you're doing a stock purchase or an equity transaction, or you're doing an asset purchase, either way, you want to identify you want to have the articles of incorporation and all the amendments for the legal entity that houses the assets of the business that you're trying to buy. The company bylaws and amendments. If this is a corporation, whether S corp or C corp, you're going to have the corporate minutes. All of the corporate minutes for since the beginning of time. Because any company that doesn't have corporate minutes, it could be pierced through a legal action, which means that the shareholders are no longer protected. Those are the kinds of things that you should be worried about. The company's shareholders and the agreements between the shareholders, certificate of good standing for the Secretary of State or whatever state that you're buying the business of. Every state has a Secretary of State where you can actually obtain information regarding to legal entities. That's just a snapshot of what goes on in the organizational documents. Now, I'm going to talk about a few more. Financial information. Now, there's going to be financial information, and there's going to be tax information. We're going to separate the two. The financial information usually comes from the set of financial, the software that is used by the buyer that you're dealing with. I'm sorry, by the seller that you're dealing with, because you are the buyer. If and when available, you want to get audited financials. I would suspect that maybe only 3% of all businesses out there actually have required audited financials. Most of them don't. They're just cost prohibitive. But if they are available, you want to have the last 3 years worth of audited financials, along with all the auditors' letters and their recommendations and their management reports for you to review. You want to have the current year interim financials. So right now we're in 2023, so I would suspect that 2022 tax returns have not been filed. So I would want to see the 2022 interim balance sheet and profit and loss. If the company has a credit report, you want to have that credit report. Any projections, strategic plans or business plans, anything that is pro forma, that is forward looking, you want to have access to. You want to have a schedule of all debt. In contingent liabilities, you want to have, if you have, AR aging, summary reports, accounts payable. I'm sorry, AR stands for accounts receivable and AP stands for accounts payable. You want to have the AR or accounts receivable aging report, and you want to have the AP aging report. You want to have the depreciation schedule, a schedule of assets and depreciation schedule. The company's general ledger and the trial balance, the asset list and depreciation schedule, and all the internal procedures. That's just within the company. Also, let's skip over. If the company has, if the business you're looking to buy has intellectual property, you want to have all those intellectual property filings, any patents or pending patents, trademark or trademark names, schedule of copyrights. Here's a little tidbit on trademarks. Now, a trademark, it's a very, very useful when you're trying to compete in the marketplace and you're trying to expand your business. So you want to go from one state to another. When you have a trademark, if the trademark is a federal trademark, means that you can go into any state with that brand name, which is a ton of goodwill. And just to put it in perspective, it's not uncommon for a company to spend upwards of $20 to even $30,000, $40,000 in intellectual property, to intellectual property law firms into perfecting and securing their trademarks. So those are very, very valuable. And if a company, if all you have to do is look at a company's website, and if you see that their domain or some of their catchphrases have a little TM, means trademark, that assumes to me that there is some intellectual property know-how and then intellectual property documents that go along with that. So those are super important that you have those during this checklist as you're going through the process of acquiring this company. Hey, do you need help with buying or selling a business? I am here to help. All you need to do is drop me a comment below or send me an email. My email address is in the description section of this video. Let's connect and do business. License and permits, any governmental license, city and county permits, tax licenses, sales tax licenses, or exempt certifications, anything, any permits or that you need from or permits that you need from regulatory agencies. Let's get into taxes. This is one of my favorite topics because I deal with this a lot. The taxes are usually very closely related with the contingency of the loan. If you're actually trying to secure an SBA loan or a loan from a lender, they're going to really lean heavily on the tax returns for the calculation of the cash flow and the debt service coverage. So you want to have, as you're going through this process, federal, state, if it is an S Corp, it's going to be an 1120S. If it is a C Corp, an 1120. With all of the schedules, you want to have the entire set of corporate tax returns for the last 3 preceding years, plus the interims, as I said before, for the prior year. So right now we're in 2023. I would want to see if we're about to go into due diligence, if we're about to strike a deal to want to buy a business, I would want to have 2019, 2020, and 2021 corporate tax returns with all the schedules. We want to have the interim 2022 balance sheet and income statement to calculate the debt service coverage ratio. Any audit from the IRS or any documents from the IRS as it pertains the taxes. Sometimes people submit the taxes, their CPAs actually submit their tax returns, and later they are audited, and there are changes that are made to the tax returns, whether it is to increase the income or decrease the income. You want to follow those two. I actually recommend to all of, because I also work with sellers, you want to keep any and all correspondence that comes from the IRS, regulatory or tax agency that comes your way. You want to have those for many years because you never know when you're going to use them. Anything related to tax liens you want to have. And this is just a few. Now, just to give you an idea, this is what really goes on when you're trying to buy a business. What you're trying to do is you want to minimize the risk. And the things that I worry about is risk and cash. Now, as you go through this list, you're going to realize that there's a lot of things that have to do with regulatory compliance. So the regulatory compliance reduces your risk. You really want to be in the up and up with the regulatory compliance. I haven't even talked about employee benefits. But if this company that you're buying has employees, and I would suspect that most of them do. So there are guidelines and there's statutory compliance that you have to go through, and added reporting requirements when you have over 5, over 25, over 50 employees. You want to have copies of all the the yearly 940s and the quarterly 941s for your payroll reports, your W-2s, your W-3s. If you actually have 1099 vendors, those who actually get compensation, the 1099 NECs, those would actually have to have copies of those. Are you starting to see what this is all about? Now, is it possible that you can go as a buyer to try to do it on your own? Absolutely, you can. Now, is it easy? No. And that's what a lot of buyers actually want to work with somebody who knows, a business broker like myself. So if you really need help, I would love to help you. So the list is exhausting, and there may be more things. But what I want to keep you in mind is, here's what you're going to run into. And this is the most important thing. As I told you at the beginning, I want to save this for last. As you're going through this process, the most important thing you have to keep in mind is cash flow. What you're actually buying is a cash flow stream, a very fragile ecosystem that produces cash flow. If one variable or not, one of the variables on what goes on running a business actually is offset or tampered with, it may actually change the cash flow or the cash flow assumptions. So a lot of what I think about when I'm going through cash flow is, yes, it would be great to have all the regulatory compliance stuff, all the organizational documents or the legal documents or the employee and HR benefits, but those are secondary to the fact that I want to make sure that the tax returns validate the cash flow assumptions made by the other business broker we're presenting the deal to you, and their confidential information memorandum, what we call the CIM or the CBR, which is a confidential business review. That's what we call it in our brokerage. You want to make sure that you validate first and foremost, is the cash flow in the tax returns equal to the cash flow in the interim statements? And if the cash flow in the tax returns is correct, and the lender will find out if it is correct or not, because they're going to subpoena the form 4506, because we're actually going to get the actual transcripts from the IRS, and they're going to compare the transcripts to the tax returns, to the interim, to make sure that those net income is solid. Once they figure that out, they're going to take the proposed debt, whether it is 80, 85, 90% loan to value of that cash flow that you're buying. They want to make sure that there is enough debt service coverage ratio. So again, what is the most important thing that you should be worried about long before you actually make an offer? Is there enough cash flow not only to service the debt, but to pay you a handsome profit every month? Otherwise, why are you doing this? Why are you actually buying a business if you're actually not going to make any money? So I hopefully I was able to help you guys. I know I get to get comments in Facebook, and which I respond to every day, and emails. Email me, let's chat. I'm here to help you. Thank you so much for watching my video. The time I'm giving away my cash flow calculator. This is a great workbook that I use every week that many of you have downloaded already. When you're looking to figure out what the cash flow is after you have the debt service covered by the cash flow from the business, a really powerful tool, and it's yours to keep. Also, I'm going to give you my checklist, the very checklist that we discussed in today's video. Those are yours to keep just for watching my videos as a compliment to you. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy them.